Chapter 9, Albert's Journal of the Universe. Ninth entry. First contact.
September 2nd, 2045. Continued. Our eyes opened as we heard a chanting of sounds we symbolize with letters. We heard the word Om that we attached to this sound while we listened to the vibration of each letter. We could see in an instant reality as we had created it come into perspective. It was like turning on a computer and the data that pops up is what we programmed to pop up. The screen background on our dream reality took familiar form. We felt the wind blowing across our skin, as if it brought a message from another reality. All the dream vacationers met in the Dreamscape Resort courtyard, having been awakened with the same vibrational sounds. Everyone's emotions were strong as we reacted to the stimuli that we shared as we woke. Per Puss and our mice family were already in the courtyard looking upward at lights that danced about with grace and purpose. They formed geometric shapes that flickered from one conceived symbol to another in the flash of an eyelid. Is there a message in this display that was choreographed for our witness? Is this the answer to our questions about preconceived reality, shaping our surroundings? Yet this was a typical first contact scenario that is part of our ingrained data banks within our minds. Small variations occurred with each of us individually, although we all felt within our heart centers that we were being provided a gift of new awareness. This was our shared dreamscape reality, but now we had more visitors. These visitors showed themselves to us from within our dream universe. Their visit was short as we watched the visitors disappear as quickly as they moved around. At first, it was a validation reaction from our encounter. Did you see what I saw? Nothing should surprise this group with all that we have shared witness together, but we all agreed that it was totally unexpected. The first thing we did was form every shape we could remember with molecular art, as we term it, which is just giving form to thought. Charles was a big contributor to this playful puzzle our visitors left us with. His ability to pull molecules from the ether is his favorite playtime. Penny replicated the sounds we all heard with remarkable precision. Her talent allowed each sound to assume a form that Charles would then nourish, giving life to the shape that emerged. Brandon was the language expert in our group, so he was instrumental with this puzzle gift. Bill's ability of observation from multiple perspectives brought out many agreed validations on this witnessed event. Bill noticed that within each light was a form shape that was hard to see unless you switch perspectives. These shapes are like the forms that we hold on to when we transform to photons in our journeys. In the center of our photon beings is our preconceived version of our vessel, as if we are still the driver of this photon energy vehicle. We have never had communication problems with any beings we had come across in all of our journeys. This message was from outside our known existence, so nothing made sense to us, as we relished the challenge like playful children with new toys. Myra giggled like a child who had just discovered the most wonderful secret, one she couldn't yet share with us. Her tendency to find joy in the simplest things meant we didn't suspect anything unusual. For the sake of maintaining a linear progression in this journal, the unveiling of Myra's secret must be postponed. Using our abilities, we recreated the event in every detail within our memory data banks. Then our Image-I-Nation played it over as many times as we liked at any speed we wanted. Per Puss along with Scout and Tribe had the earliest memories of the shared validated witnessed event. Scout showed us his first contact by arranging our replicas as he witnessed coming out of a rift in our dream sky. Scouts theorized they did not leave through a rift, so that means that they are still here in our dream reality. Is it possible that they could return from where they came and never leave at the same time? The proof of that is the marked print message that is left for us to interpret. We are all aware of the endless possibilities for universes to exist just outside what we consider reality. We were vacationing in one of those time-space reality creations, so this was not hard to grasp. This visitation was somehow out of our realm of possible scenarios, even with its similarities. It took effort to scribe this event into something we could comprehend as familiar. One detail that we recreated was our emotions' reactions to the event as it happened. This defined the intentions of the visitors as we all agreed that we felt loving vibrations. While Bill, Brandon, and I worked with the playback of the light display to bring comprehension meaning to the message, the rest of our group took pleasure in the hunt for our new visitors. Seth and Scout took the lead as the best trackers in the group. They split up in teams with Myra, Shauna, and Penny, exploring with Seth. Mary, Charles, Scout, and his tribe followed Scout's tracking. Seth tracked with the heightened outer senses, using the eyes of the eagles and the ears of wolves. Scout used his inner knowingness instinct that comes from his heart center. Mary helped with cautioned logic while Myra followed a vibrational field that she was able to experience in her ability to heal. We quickly picked up a trail that would lead us to our visitors. Mary noticed a subtle change in the dreamscape reality, where we had been vacationing, something unfamiliar to us. Myra commented, "It feels like we are right where they are. Yet we still have to travel to meet them. How can they be right here and somewhere else at the same time? Unless they are dreaming also." Bill was the first to notice that the shapes of the lights formed ancient shapes and symbols found, then recorded on Earth. Brandon was able to read a message that said, "We are back, making it a time to remember. Join us in this celebration." We quickly joined the group of searchers with this new puzzle piece. What was to be revealed next was a surprise to us all as the dreamscape began to completely transform into a familiar yet forgotten scape of unimaginable beauty. We were now the visitors as our guest welcomed us with open arms reaching for long-lost kin. The mice tribe climbed all over our guest, stopping only to make embraces of affection. Our new old friends could see our bewilderment. Even as we felt familiar, our recall was not yet clear. They looked almost like mankind, although physical shape was a subject of interpretation. We could see genial connections to many species from our past memories. They also had old spirits in young children's vessels that played with our children. It was magical watching this reunion. As one of our guests who we remember as Lazarus whispered to me as we embraced, "How many times has this scene played out, my dear friend?" Without thinking, my natural response was to reply, "Too many to count." This was the truth that we were realizing as we flowed with the new tide. The memories returned to us all quickly, although the scripting writing of our multi-layered time loops may take some effort. We should start with Lazarus along the soul group we were again a part of. They were all familiars to us. Lazarus' twin flame was presence. They conceived 4 child vessels for kin that wanted the gift of a fresh start after a lesson was finally learned. The children were known as Essence, whose empathy nurtured inner guidance, Harmony, whose vibration could alter reality, Connell, whose natural being is helping the universal mind consciousness, and Logan, who brings the spirit of free will as the master of natural law. They played with our children who all wanted a mantle for their names, so Charles became the substance of molecule formation, or the formulator. Penny wanted to be known as the image maker, and Brandon went with the translator, as he was not really into the whole mantle thing. Scout just stuck with his mantle scout because that says it all. Among the mice tribe, only Belcher wanted to be known as Belcher the Indigestion. This part of the journal is playful fun, as it is great seeing role essences played out in this dream universe. The play ended as we were invited into a structure of grand imagery for nourishment. The structure blended in with the dreamscape like camouflage. Lazarus opened a pathway saying, "Welcome to our shared dreamscape. The best way to show this home is by telling you that you will see what you wish to see. There are energy vortexes everywhere, so make yourselves at home." As we entered, Charles would say, "Look at that, and that, and that." He still shared his new discoveries with us all. He treated everything as a new discovery. We looked at what he pointed out, then we validated it into existence. He would come up with a name for what he saw, and we would agree most of the time, as we laughed concepts into being. Charles' favorite starter phrase is, "Wouldn't it be fun if?" This phrase could lead us to any place imaginable. We could call it a contribulator or a converser. Maybe we can name it an object materializer. Charles knows that the name game was just for grins and giggles, so he took pleasure in the levity of names. He still had the jester side of his energy. He was a 1,000,000-year-old in a 5-year-old body. It was great. I get carried away from the journal when I write about my soul family group, getting back to linear progression of events or a blow-by-blow version of the flow of time. Our immediate surroundings were full of life. We were at mission starting point on a grand experiment with mind-boggling variables, yet we all felt a tremendous feeling of accomplishment being there. In order to tell this, it may be important to say where and when we had traveled to, so we could meet our visitors that took us in as guests. We were back on Earth, over 1,000,000 years in what we construe as time. The Earth was a jewel in the universe, much like the world seed we nurtured while on this vacation. There was a beehive of activity as most were excited, because the observation satellite was soon to be moved into orbit around the planet. The new satellite would be called the Moon, and it would record the development of the Great Experiment. What we thought of as meteor craters are in reality blast ports that help position the Moon into orbit around the Earth. They also functioned as observation ports for studying life, marking a beginning for many across the known universe. One of the numerous cosmic academies was on the verge of opening. This planet had the largest variety of biological life within the Milky Way galaxy, so it drew the interest of many beings with scientific inquisitive essences. The Earth had only a slight tilt on its axis, so the polar ice caps at this time were smaller. One could hardly notice the changes in seasons. Most of the planet was still a water world that allowed life to flourish in unimaginable variety as well as size and numbers. Only the continent of Pangaea rose above the waters. This was a large island land mass that sprouted evolution, producing beings of all shapes adapting to the environment. We had visited Pangaea before in the city of Lemuria, witnessing Lemuria rise into the heavens to become the comet Nibiru. Almost the center of Pangaea was the Garden of Eden, where new beginnings were emerging that leads to the time loop we are on. Information on Pangaea was almost instantaneous as many of the advancing beings tapped into the conscious neural pathways of Gaia herself. Information is passed through the elements for all that are open to their receivers within. At this point in Earth's story, we were the visitors observing the indigenous inhabitants on the planet. One species captured our curiosity as observers. They lived in a frequency much different from ours, so they interact with the physical world in ways that we are not familiar with, worthy of study. They possess a connection with source creation that holds many possibilities, ones that we wish to comprehend at a greater level. These entities consented to merge with humanity's consciousness to aid in mankind's evolution, akin to how we immerse ourselves in the lives of other beings during our dream vacations. They were curious about us also, passing stories from one generation to the next through cave drawings. Each area of Pangaea was influenced by many throughout the galaxy. Even with the excitement of the moon placement into orbit, there was an underlying tension among the aliens for domination of the planet. Not all of the alien races were on Earth with good intentions. The reptilians were using the indigenous people of Pangaea as slaves to mine gold and other minerals. They also performed genetic experiments that altered the DNA of the people, stunting their growth and blocking their path towards Source Creator. This intervention was considered a violation intrusion rape by many of us others there to study or observe. This DNA altering made the inhabitants better slaves because it retarded the inner guidance connection with Source, so they became disconnected with Gaia neural system. It was like numbing the body to operate so the mind does not receive the message of the pain being inflicted. Now, many of the species that they had altered were off the natural cosmic grid, so to speak, making them unable to communicate. The center for DNA altering was a development called Babylon. Once the manipulation retardation was complete, the specimens would be divided into groups of colors or characteristics, then sent to learn in schools that taught spoken words of different variations. Competitions were set up and encouraged that further separated the connections these people had with each other. Babylon was an expanding indoctrination facility producing a slave mentality that this world would have to fend off, and this would take a millennium of cycles to do so. Those that excelled in the indoctrination phase were elevated to positions of what is dubbed authorities, then placed as teachers, rulers, guards, statesmen, or anything else that claimed power over others. Psychopathic behavior was rewarded with additional knowledge, which helped maintain the slave population that was quickly emerging on Pangaea. True learning was hindered at every turn. As a way to counteract what the reptilians were doing, many other schools of higher knowledge were set up around Pangaea. Atlantis, along with Lemuria, have the best results, helping the plagued victims of the reptilian manipulation return to a point where inner guidance could begin its journey back to source creation once again. Gaia herself was not pleased with the manipulation that was causing harm to her offspring. Atlantis was developing in harmony with Gaia, although there are fractions of the population in Atlantis that had intent of war destruction in mind. Technologies have reached a point that they could cause harm to not only Gaia but the fabric of the physical realm. This beautiful jewel called Gaia Earth was being muddied with the prints of beings from all around creation. We could see that even with our non-interference mindset, that our influence held the potential for bringing harm. The path was clear for us as a soul group. The memories of us making the contracts we eagerly agreed to in order to help stop the harmful intervention taking place on Gaia. Was our life mission contract fulfilled? Are we graduating from one school of learning to move on to an even higher school? We are seeing the macro universe's plan come to fruit. It was indeed time to celebrate. Every one of us has lived thousands of lifetimes over 1 million years, with all of those memories returning to us as if they just occurred. Now we are back at the beginning. This is where our contract ends. One thing was clear was how our soul family always found each other in each lifetime. We had even been bitter enemies in some lifetimes. Somehow we made it back where a new beginning is clearly in our path. Lazarus reminded us that we have been a part of a large mind computer simulation that has played out in millions of ways. These simulations are meant to come up with the best way to help stop the interventions taking place on Pangea. They are designed to uncover veils of illusion offering greater clarity. Each simulation was just as real as the next, as they all played out at the same time. Lazarus spoke to us through the Natural World Net. Now we welcome old friends back to what some call Prime Reality, which is part of the Omniverse. We celebrate the soul group that has completed life missions that brings them back here with us. Mary spoke for us all when she replied, "We thought Prime Reality was back at home where we have a pool, where the children go to school, and we play at our work seriously. We are just on a shared dream vacation, so we are making this all up." It is great fun and all, although a quick dunk in the pool right now could be just what the doctor ordered. Looking at the natural neural pathways on Gaia light up with laughter was a sight to behold. Zeb showed up with I Am just as the celebration started. Even the elements joined the singing, offering vibrations that would be mimicked by birds from then on. Mary pulled me to the side, whispering, "Albert, this is fun, but what I said is how I know we all feel. My knowingness is validating all we are experiencing, as it happens with discernment. Remembering that it is all a simulation, that we made it all up, is still hard to grip." She then smiled as she whisked me across our imaginary dance floor. We spent the rest of our dream vacation day in Pangea with soulmates from every known corner of existence. We witnessed validated many adventures with our remembered family. There is much to share in this journal. As you may have noticed when reading this journal, there are billions of stories within each story. With the knowledge that we are just a part in a simulation, it is now clear that we can choose to play a different role to complete the simulation contract guidelines. There is so much to learn. How wonderful is that? It appears that our choice of a dream vacation destination is no longer in our hands. Instead, we are being led by a purpose that contributes to the advancement of humanity into a new era. What will be our next destination on this journey?
Things have certainly taken a turn. Our team of dream vacationers are now being drawn to pivotal concepts for the growth of man's civilization. I hope you enjoy the ride they are on. Please subscribe, like, and share. We love you.